Can Charlie redeem Alastor in Hazbin Hotel? The answer might surprise you. Now, Alastor is easily one of the most gray characters in the whole series, being comprised of multitudes of both good and bad traits. But what if I were to tell you there's some significant evidence that he might very well be redeemable and Charlie could have a good shot of pulling it off? Well, I'm going to explain it to you with some interesting evidence that has been laid out over the course of the series. When we began the story of Hazbin Hotel, it became quite clear that Alastor arrived for his own amusement. He even says so in the pilot. He shows up, knocks on Charlie's door, tells her that he wants to help her make the hotel, not for altruistic reasons, but merely because he derives a great deal of enjoyment from seeing sinners try and climb up and then fall back down to the bottom. Now, there was also some pretty significant speculation originally that he might have been doing this to try and accrue deals or take the souls of people who got down on hard times, but that was merely speculation and doesn't seem to have been where he was moving with it in the first place. So how could a character who takes the enjoyment of other people's suffering possibly be redeemable? Well, the answer is actually quite interesting, and it's just how attached he has become to the hotel. Don't believe me? Here are 3 instances that prove that Alastor has gotten much, much closer to the hotel than he originally had intended to be. The first of these is that he basically fights in the final battle. I don't really know a better way to express that Alastor is attached to the hotel than putting up the ultimate form of payment, which is his life, on the line for it. True, he may never have considered the idea that he could die, but let's be fair, we'd be pretty arguing here that he doesn't take into account like that our overlords are a threat to him and that other people can be risky to deal with, because he definitely does know that. We know he lost to Vox, so we know he's mortal. We know that he knows he's mortal, and he's definitely well aware that angels always represented the biggest threat. Now, though, he's decided that he's going to risk it all for the Hazbin Hotel crew, and that is probably one of the biggest indications that he has become more attached to them than even he realizes. Now, that's not to say that this battle didn't go with a certain amount of egocentric nature to it. I mean, he did seem to forego the use of angelic weapons, whether that was by deliberate design, trying to get certain characters to get more into the battle, or it was severe overconfidence, doesn't really matter. He took a very big risk to do so. Case number 2 is that he has made several deals now across the course of Season 1, wherein which his payoff was surprisingly minor for what somebody with him would normally want. Alastor is somebody that has repeatedly shown an almost level of genius when it comes to negotiating deals that give him infinite amounts of control, access, whatever he needs. And that's probably most visible with Husk, who he has on such a good contract with. He can summon him wherever he wants and basically make him do almost anything he wants him to. That's a power that we don't even see from the Vs. So he's obviously very intelligent when it comes to designing his deals, but he makes at least 2 deals in Season 1 that really don't benefit him, at least in obvious ways. The first is where he agrees to make the commercial with Daggy. I think that this was really done for growing his character relationship with her and the hotel in general, but it does kind of show that the only price he wanted to extort from her in particular was merely not having to deal with TV again. I feel like that's more of a favor than, really making a deal, so it's kind of an interesting turnaround. The second half of that is the deal he makes with Charlie. And yes, I have several theories on why he makes the deal with Charlie, but we really can't deny that while the contents of the deal probably will have a backlash to them, the nature of the deal itself, that she owes one favor, in which she directly harms nobody, is pretty capitulating of him. I mean, from a character that, like I said, pretty much owns Husk's soul in every conceivable manner, he chose to give her a massive amount of leeway with this, and while I do think it's because he needs that particular favor, it's also because I think he's become more attached to Charlie than he initially realizes, which is funny because the time that deal is made is in the episode Hello Rosie, and that's really where we start to see just how affectionate he can be towards her. But what is the third piece of evidence that could possibly showcase that Alastor has actually become closer to the whole Hazbin Hotel crew? Ironically, it occurs in the song The Show Must Go On, and that is simply that we see he allows them to touch him now. Alastor is a character throughout the whole series, both in production notes, in previous live streams for the series, and through the series itself. He doesn't allow other people to touch him. He does not like having other people around him. The sole exception to this was Nifty, who he never minded being around him. Interestingly enough, he now allows, during the end of The Show Must Go On, the entire group to give him a group hug. That would have been unthinkable to Alastor in the beginning of the series, and shows that even though he is aware that he's mortal, he's been humbled severely, and he's probably in a weakened state now, and he's acknowledged that he's probably too attached to them, he still allows them to do this. That is really interesting. It seems to suggest that despite that he's aware they're close to him, he's not aware how close. But what does that mean? Can he actually be redeemed or not? I think the end will probably be dictated by just what his turnaround will be. We as an audience seem to have pretty much come to the decision that he is going to betray the hotel at some point. Whether voluntarily or compelled by his own deal, this is going to happen. But what happens after that might be the deciding factor. Does he do it because he absolutely needs to get out of his deal? Is he forced to do so? In which case, is he responsible for it? Either way, this might be the ultimate test of Charlie's idea of, can everyone be redeemed? For what it's worth, depending on how they end this series, there's a high likelihood that I do think Alastor could be redeemed. But what do you think in the comments below?